A human being can both create incredible masterpieces and at the same time destroy them either through negligence or silliness or for other reasons. What was the reason for the fire in the most visited site of Paris? What's now instead of the destroyed Twin Towers? Where has the Amber Room gone? How natural landmarks were destroyed, such as a rock in the shape of a duck's head or an acacia tree, the only one in the entire desert. What might be the consequences for self-linear sculptures? In this video we'll talk about fabulous attractions of the world that suffered at the hands of a man. Notre Dame, France. Architectural experts from all over the world consider the cathedral one of the best examples of Gothic architecture. There is even the University of Notre Dame in the US, Indiana, that was named in its honor. This was the first Catholic university in America to offer a degree in architecture as far back as 1898. By the way, you can learn more about this university on Smapse.com. Educational institutions from all over the world are represented there, and you can even ask questions in an online chat. Previous years, Notre Dame was the most visited attraction of the country. The symbol of France received its fame and prominence largely due to the roman of Victor Hugo, which has the same name, Notre Dame de Paris. Thanks to it, the cathedral underwent a major reconstruction in 1844-1864. It was then that the iconic spire was added to the building, which unfortunately collapsed during the fire in 2019. The fire occurred in April of that year during Holy Week before Easter. As a result, not only the spire was damaged, but also the original 12th century roof. The frame of the cathedral could not be saved. According to the French architect Jean-Michel Wilmot, the cost of restoring the attraction will be about 1 billion euros. The cause of the fire is unknown, but among the versions are a malfunction of electrical wiring and an unquenched cigarette. Twin Tower, the US. For some time after construction was completed, the north and the south towers of the World Trade Center in Manhattan are the tallest skyscrapers in the world. The buildings managed to overtake the Empire State Building in this category, which had been the tallest for 40 years. The lead architect of the project was the son of Japanese immigrants Minoru Yamasaki. Despite the difficulties caused by his background, he did everything to prove his expertise, so when he was asked to create a building that would significantly surpass the Empire State Building in size, he succeeded in that. Everyone heard about the tragedy that occurred on September 11, 2001. This was a truly horrible incident that led to the largest number of victims caused by a terrorist attack in history. The tragedy claimed the lives of 3,000 people and more than 6,000 were injured. Back then, the whole world mourned along with America. Citizens of 90 countries were among the victims. 90 flags standing on the row flutter on the Alley of Memory not far from the place of the event. There is a national memorial created on the side of the destroyed towers, which consists of several black pools with water floating inside them and the names of all dead engraved along the edges. Everyone expressed his grief as much as he could. The New York Times ran a column for a long time in which they talked about each victim. Some countries' memorial plaques were also opened. There is a memorial in Israel, which was created from metal taken from the place where the tower stood. Russia gave the US a sculpture called the Tear of Grief, which was created by Russian sculptor Zurab Tsorteli. The statue is located in Bayonne, New Jersey. At the site of the tragedy itself, annually on September 11th, searchlights are on to commemorate the events that, as everyone hopes, will never be repeated. The Amber Room, Russia. It's a masterpiece of the 18th century that disappeared without a trace during the Great Patriotic War. The room was once considered a pearl of the Russian Emperor's residence in Tsarskoye Selo. It had amber panels, decorations and mosaics. It was created by German craftsmen specially for the King Frederick I. Then the room was donated to Peter the Great. That time mirror pilasters were added. In wartime, the Amber Room was not included in the evacuation plan. It's unlikely that anyone would have been able to evacuate it, since in July of 1941 there were only 5 employees in the staff of the Catherine's Palace, where the Amber Room was located, so they could not physically dismount it. But the Germans who captured the town of Pushkin and robbed the palace, took the Amber Room as well. It was intended for the Führer Museum in Linz, but until a certain time it was decided to keep the room in the Königsberg Castle. Then, during the assault of Königsberg by Soviet troops in April of 1945, the room disappeared without a trace. Why it disappeared remains a mystery. There is a version that it was destroyed by fire that occurred on the 11th of April in the cellars of the castle. According to another version, it was hidden in an undiscovered bunker, presumably in Brusev's bunker. Perhaps it was completely destroyed during transportation at the same time that the encirclement of German troops around the city fell apart. The Amber Room that we can see in the Catherine's Palace today, in turn, is the result of reconstruction. In 2003, it was completely restored from Kaliningrad amber for the 300th anniversary of St. Petersburg. The funds for its restoration were also allocated by the German company E.ON. Natural attractions: Duckbill Rock in the USA and a tree in the Tenere Desert. Nature in the US state of Oregon created its own landmark, a rock that resembled a duck's beak, which is why it got the respective name, a duck's bill or duck's head. The place was so popular with tourists that the state government erected a fence around it to prevent the rock formation from being destroyed. However, this did not help, and in 2016 the stone was destroyed by a crowd of teenagers. Of course, this is far from the only case when a natural landmark was destroyed due to human silliness and carelessness. There was an acacia growing in the Tenere Desert, which was considered the loneliest tree on Earth. There was not a single other tree within a radius of 400 kilometers. In 1973, the tree was hit by a truck driven by a drunk driver. In the same year, the remains of the tree were transferred to the National Museum of Niger, located in Niamey, and a metal monument in the form of the tree was erected in the place where the acacia grew. Statues that had been broken by tourists: Little Mermaid in Dermag, the Hercules in Italy, and King Sebastian in Portugal. The sculpture of a mermaid in Copenhagen appeared in 1909, but since its appearance it has already suffered destructive actions several times. The poor girl lost its head twice, and it was covered with paint and graffiti countless times. The two Hercules in Italy and the King Sebastian in Portugal were vandalized by accident because of tourists taking selfies. Tourists decided to take a picture with a statue of the two Hercules in the Italian city of Cremona and accidentally broke off a piece from it. At that time, the statue was more than 300 years old and was a symbol of the city because, according to the legend, it was Hercules who founded Cremona. The statue of Sebastian I in Lisbon was erected at the end of the 19th century. A tourist decided to take an unusual photo with the statue of Don Sebastian and, as a result, completely knocked it over from its base. There are so many beautiful places in the world created by both nature and people. Let's take care of what we have so that our descendants would have the opportunity to admire what we can see now.